Hi, my name is Paige and I'm your speech-language pathologist. I'd love to familiarize you with a 3D model of the larynx, and I'd also like to talk about why I think you may be experiencing some symptoms of a hoarse voice after a long day of working with customers. This is a 3D model of the larynx, and as it sits right now, this is the anterior view. So if you're looking directly at my throat, this is how it would look sitting in my throat. So the anterior view or the front view. Now, if I turn it around, we'll see the posterior view, which of course means the view from the back. So the opposite of the anterior view. Now, the larynx is comprised of mostly muscles and cartilage. So I'll show you a few of the pieces of cartilage within the larynx. Here's the epiglottis, which is most superior to the rest of these pieces of the larynx. So the epiglottis is superior to this purple one is the thyroid. And then the thyroid is superior to the cricoid. And then posterior to the thyroid and superior to the cricoid are the arytenoid cartilages. And then medially within the larynx, you'll see these two taut strings that are connected to the thyroid. And those strings represent the vocal ligaments, which then would be connected to the true vocal folds. So I'd like to discuss a cycle that helps us to understand what's happening in our larynx when we are phonating or speaking. So it's called the myoelastic theory. And what happens is that when we are about to phonate or speak, I'll show it from the posterior side so it's easier to understand. When we're getting ready to phonate, these are adducted or closed. These are the arytenoids, and therefore the vocal folds are adducted and closed, therefore closing the glottis. And since that's closed, there is a buildup of subglottal pressure coming from our lungs and up, wanting to come out and escape. And so that's the first step of the myoelastic theory. And then in step 2, the air pressure just becomes enough to where it abducts, opens, and therefore air pressure is able to escape. But because the air pressure escapes, the muscles want to elastically adduct again due to the negative air pressure that is there. So they have a tendency to go back to adduction. And then the cycle restarts. And so that cycle of abduction and adduction is what causes our vocal folds to vibrate and for us to phonate or speak. Now, I'd like to talk about why you may be experiencing a hoarse voice after a long day of work. It sounds like you, as a salesperson, work directly with customers all day long, and so therefore you may be speaking more often than the average person, probably with vocal tones that require more effort. And so it sounds like you may be experiencing excessive adduction of the vocal folds because, as we know, when we're speaking, we experience adduction very often, and this is likely straining your vocal folds, causing them to be weaker and a little tougher, therefore creating that hoarse voice effect. Now, some recommendations I would make throughout the workday, and not only throughout the workday, but also to help your voice in the long run. Of course, it's easier said than done, but try to not overuse your voice throughout the day. And when you can, take breaks from using your voice too often. When you're sick, also take breaks, rest your voice as much as you can. And if you're on a sales call over the phone. Try not to cradle that phone like this because that is also not good for your larynx. Some actions you can also take to help your larynx would be to drink water, perhaps use a humidifier to moisten your larynx. Try to avoid any medications that may dry you out. Also avoid any smoking, avoid spicy foods, and get enough rest and exercise. And with all that together, I think that you'll be right as rain in no time, and that should really help that hoarseness at the end of the day that you're experiencing. And if not, please come back to me and I'd be happy to help you further.